having a good form, I think, is balance, and part of having that even balance in that push-pull is having good flexibility. These are a few stretching exercises that I do before I warm up, before I go shooting. I notice if I don't do these stretches that I am not consistent at all when I start out, and it takes a lot longer to get on target. It's a good way just to get centered, get your muscles even, get your posture even, and your stance even, and your shoulders even, and your spine and your skeleton structure. It's important to get all that internal structure even and balanced. And doing that is, part of doing that is getting flexible, getting your muscles flexible, so your bones are free to move within that even balanced structure. So anyhow, enough talking. I'm going to start with from the center out, essentially from our core out. That's how we're stretching our body. So you want to, the whole time you're doing a lot of these stretches, you want to be in your stance, the stance that you normally take when you're shooting. If you do have an open stance, for now you're just going to have a closed stance for these exercises. I'm sorry for any of you who have an open stance. Maybe you can somehow figure out how to adjust these stretches to you. Part of this exercise for me is being in my stance while I'm doing these stretches, and that's how I kind of get that balance structure. So I get my feet in the stance that I would be in when I'm shooting for this first stretch. So bend over with your bow, or not. I'm just doing these exercises with my bow to show that you can do these on the field, bow in hand. Because a lot of these stretches, I think, should be done continuously throughout your shooting. While you're stretching, you want to breathe, and the gravity, just take your body down and feel the pull in your spine. If you feel like you want to get an even stronger stretch, you can pull your bow behind your legs and bring your hands down and put your head down to get a really efficient stretch in your spine. Hold that. I hold that pose for at least 30 seconds, but I'm going to just skip ahead. From this position, still being down, I move over to one side. I usually start to my right or left, doesn't matter. I'll hold this position for another 30 seconds or so. Go over to my left, hold this for 30 more seconds. Go back to the center. At this point, I'm pretty stretched. I'm feeling really stretched here, so I take my arms and I cross them underneath so I can get more of a stretch. And if I have to, I'll pull to really get that stretch. But at the same time, I'm trying to relax and just let gravity pull and hang naturally. Let my spine just... And as you're doing this, you want to breathe. You want to be relaxed with gravity just pulling you down and breathing deeply. As you're breathing, you'll feel the stretch in your spine. As your diaphragm expands, it'll expand against your lower spine right here, and it'll stretch. It'll actually, you'll get an expansion in your vertebrae. At this point, I bring my legs back in together. Make sure my spine is straight at this point, my shoulders are even. And I come over and I just go to the touching my toes. And again, I'll breathe through this stretch. If you want an even stronger stretch, you put your bow behind. I'll grab my leg sometimes. You want to breathe. And really feel a stretch in your lower back. And hold it. And you want to hold that for at least 30 seconds. At this point, I go back into my stance. I raise my arms above my head. Go to one side. Go to the other. I'm rushing through these stretches, but you really should be holding these longer. Breathing through at least 30 seconds. Go straight up and back. Now we're going to move on to our upper shoulders. A lot of that is when you do this stretch, you want to completely relax your back muscles and your shoulders. You don't want to fight this arm. You want to make your arm dead. And just give a little squeeze. And really feel it right here. And while you're in your stance, and then as you're doing this stretch, turn. And then extend the stretch into your upper back. Breathing the whole time through. Hold that for a while. This is the important part. After you stretch this way, take your arm and bring it back like you're releasing. Then repeat it with the other side. Do the dead arm. You don't want to fight it. Just a squeeze. Keep your spine straight. Hold this stretch. While your spine is straight, turn your back. Or just twist. And get the stretch up into your upper back. Hold that. All right. We move to the quads. If you want, you can put your hand on the wall or a chair for balance. I just tend to just look at a spot, one spot. Use it both for balance. You really get a good stretch. Use two hands, pull. Do the same thing for this leg. Get two hands if you want, and really get that stretch. And get that quad. You want to really get this whole stretch here. Hold that. Alright. Check it out. You want to find some kind of wall or a post. I use the rail on my fence or the rail on my my deck. Just do your stretch for your calf. Stand against the wall. Forward. Repeat it for this leg. Forearm stretch. All right. Very important. The neck stretch. All the way out. Widen your stance. Hold it. All the way down. one way, the other, stretch like this, stretch like that. Don't overlook these stretches. The next stretch is very important. Okay. And I think we've just about covered it all. I'll sometimes do some of these stretches over if I feel like I'm extra tight in some areas. I definitely do this stretch more than once. I usually go back into the straddle pose, but primarily because I have a bad lower back, so I tend to redo this stretch over again. I actually get like a good back crack when I do this. I always re-stretch my left shoulder, or whichever is your release arm will probably help. I also do have a shoulder injury that I sustained a long time ago, so that's why I also re-stretch this one, because I have very low mobility. After I'm done stretching, I just do a few circles. You can see this is the arm where it's really hard, I really can't bring it up, but go forward and back, just like your calisthenics when you're a kid, big windmills. Do this arm, do that arm. Go down for a second. Do this. To really get upper back, you take your fingers, cross them, extend your arms out while you're in your stance, and just twist. Just twist. Really get that stretch up here. What this is doing is just moving it's keeping your arm braced, so it's forcing the stretch into your upper back and not in your shoulder. You really want to try to focus the stretch up here. The same thing with this straddle stretch. You'll feel it here at first in your back hamstring, but you really want to try to focus the stretch into your pelvis and your lower back. And that's where the gravity, letting gravity pull you, is focusing the stretch more here on the lower back muscles versus the hamstring. All right. Well, that'll be all. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned.